On today's episode of the Cryptoverse, I would like to talk to you about the crypto markets slumping yesterday following a decision by the SEC to delay the Bitcoin ETF. That's a lot of acronyms, but we'll get into that. Also, we'll look at this story about researchers unveiling a massive botnet army behind Twitter's crypto giveaway scams. That might be familiar to many of you. And also, a subscriber has responded to something I said the other day by building a little tool to calculate exactly what is being used on the EOS network in terms of which smart contracts are consuming how much of the network capacity and so on. So we'll take a look at that as well. Very interesting stuff. Now, let's get into the markets first. While we can never know with 100% certainty what moves the markets in any particular way, well, simply because there are just so many forces acting on it all at once, we can make statements and do so based on probabilities. So with that, we have an article coming out of the Cointelegraph entitled Crypto Markets Slump Following SEC Bitcoin ETF Delay. So the cryptos took a serious beating yesterday, which was late on Wednesday afternoon in the UK, which seemed a bit of a late reaction really for the market, since the US Securities and Exchange Commission, they decided to delay the ETF decision like the day before, right? They've decided to delay their decision on whether to approve the Bitcoin ETF, or one of the Bitcoin ETFs anyway, until the 30th of September. And they did that like on Tuesday, I think it was. But then it took like a good 24 hours for it to sink in, I suppose, and for the markets to actually react in terms of prices. Again, we can only really talk in probabilities, but probably what happened there. The recent rally contained a large number of people buying Bitcoin in order to speculate on expected higher prices if and when the ETF was approved. And now the decision has been delayed, those people are probably taking their money out of Bitcoin again and altcoins and all the rest of it for the time being in order to, avoid volatility in the meantime. And on top of that, their expectations have just not been met, which is another reason they want to pull their money out of the market and protect their capital, because now there's uncertainty, right? There's going to be another 2 months of speculation about the ETF until it gets approved. So we've got all of August and all of September to wait. So different time zones give different pictures, since like the 24-hour slice of market data might be different for you as it is to me. But when I was watching the drops in real time yesterday afternoon in the UK, the two top cryptos that I could see hit the hardest were EOS, which at one point was down 17% on the day, and Ripple, which was down 14% on the day. I mentioned that I bought a small amount of EOS overnight the other day at $6.55, and EOS is now 90 cents lower than that. So instead of catching the falling knife or trying to catch the falling knife, what I'm going to do is wait for EOS to hit bottom and begin to move up again before buying some more. Now that does mean I'm giving up a bit of ground, a bit of potential profit by not catching the bottom, right? Because it's going to bounce and start moving up. So I'm losing that before I, buy a more significant amount. But that strategy of waiting for it to rally again is a lower risk strategy than trying to catch the bottom. So trying to catch the bottom, greater risk, greater reward. Waiting for the bounce and the rally before you buy in, lower risk, slightly lower reward. So that's the strategy I'm taking for my second position. So on the 30th of September, that's the date that's been quoted for the next decision point by the SEC to announce whether they're going to decline or approve a Bitcoin ETF under the regulatory framework. Actually, a few of my patrons in the private chat group and a few other people sent me messages online saying that they thought this was the SEC manipulating the Bitcoin price downwards so that their Wall Street buddies could get in before they approve the ETF in September and send the price to the moon. Now, while that's within the realms of possibility, we don't actually have any evidence to go on whatsoever. But sometimes, when I say sometimes, I mean all the time, we need an explanation that makes us feel better about a given price movement. So if it makes you feel better to say that, oh, it's the SEC colluding with Wall Street, fine, go for it. Now, while you might object to me saying something like that, like telling yourself a story in your head that might not be true, that is in fact a important life skill, right? I've been observing for a long time how the stories that I tell myself in my head directly affect how I feel, right? The only proviso I would add to this is that you should only resort to this strategy when there's no way to actually prove the reality of the situation, right? If it's possible to determine the truth with hard empirical evidence, then I would always surrender my own story in my head to that, because I value truth above all else, right? However, in the absence of evidence, sometimes there's just no reason why that we can determine, right? So the mind will not stand for a vacuum, right? It will want to come up with an explanation of some kind. So even if it's only based on a thin piece of evidence. So if it's going to do that anyway, we may as well get involved in the process and write a story that makes us feel better, right? We may as well make ourselves feel better so we don't make poor trading decisions out of despair. So that is ultimately where I was going with that. So that's all I wanted to say about the SEC and the ETF situation. The next thing I wanted to talk about is researchers unveil a massive botnet army behind Twitter's crypto giveaway scams. This is an article that I found on cryptoglobe.com. Now, if you spend any time on Twitter reading crypto-oriented tweets, well, you'll be all too familiar with this pattern. Some prominent Twitter user will post a tweet, and then immediately, what seems like the same Twitter account will respond with a comment saying, "Great news, I'm giving away 1,000 Ether to my followers. Just send between 1 and 3 Ether to this address and get back between 10 and 50 Ether instantly." This is, of course, a complete scam, and all the scammer has done, is to set up a Twitter profile using the same display name as the prominent account, using the same profile picture, filling out the profile information exactly the same, and then many of them choose a Twitter handle, a username, that is very, very close to the prominent account, or as close as possible, using I's instead of L's and all the rest of it. And at a glance, sometimes you don't see the difference, and it looks like Jameson Lopp or Vitalik Buterin or whoever. So basically, they try and make the fake account look like the real one as possible, so that you fall for the giveaway. And this has become ever more sophisticated, to the point where real Twitter users then seem to reply to the giveaway, celebrating the fact that they've just doubled their Ether by sending money to the giveaway. Some of them even post screenshots of their wallets as so-called proof that the giveaway is legitimate, right? That provides social proof, which means people get suckered into it even more. So this has led to prominent figures on Twitter to edit their display names and put the words "no giveaway" as their middle name. And when these giveaway scams started appearing in response to my tweets, that's when I changed my Twitter display name to Chris, quote, "no giveaways, Coney." So right now, we're all on the same page. So we can talk about the botnet and how that's been revealed to be behind the scenes of this whole Twitter botnet giveaway scam thingy. So a botnet just means a collection of real computers that are infected with some software that allows the hackers to remote control those computers en masse. So that's how they would be, posting the replies with the fake proof, right? They may be real Twitter accounts that are compromised and under control of the hackers. So it was revealed by this cybersecurity company called Duo Security, and they found this botnet by using they scraped Twitter and they used machine learning algorithms and so on, and they determined the botnet to be around 15,000 computers that's behind these Twitter crypto giveaway scams. That might sound like a lot, but overall, the researchers also said that less than 5% of Twitter accounts were spam related, which is reasonably good in my opinion. So now Twitter have been made aware of the findings of these researchers. They said they'll be challenging more than 9.9 million spam accounts each week. That's a large number in my opinion. 9.9, let's call it 10 million Twitter accounts a week. Now that's pro rata to how big Twitter is in terms of user accounts. And I wonder how fast these botnet people could create new fake accounts, or how quickly they could infect other accounts. That is the trouble with botnets though. It's that they're extremely resilient since they're just so widely decentralized. So as long as the hackers can get amateur users to keep installing stuff that they shouldn't be installing and tricking them into doing so, for every member of the botnet that gets removed, another one's going to be added. And the researchers actually said that despite Twitter's best efforts, the botnet remains active. So as ever, my dear subscribers, it's down to us to protect ourselves, which means using a combination of tools for security and good education, really, because Twitter can provide all the security tools in the world, but if an attacker is able to remote control my computer, they can just walk right in the front door undetected, right? So if someone is going to give away any crypto, they can do so simply by knowing your receiving address, right? They do not need you to send them any money in the first place. So that's just a principle. And that's why I say good education is the key. If you had good crypto education, you would question the offer. You would question the giveaway going, it makes no sense for me to have to, or be required to send some ether to get some ether. That's not how it works, you would say. And you would know that's not how it works because you took the time to get educated. So, and I always say this, not everyone does this, but there are a select few people that criticize me for, building online courses and then selling them, right? But this is why they're worth paying for. Because so many people have lost tens of thousands of dollars just by simple mistakes that were born out of them just not knowing what they were doing, right? If they'd have spent, I don't know what, even $20, $100, even $1,000 on an online course that would have taught them those best practices, they would have saved themselves tens of thousands of dollars. So it's actually a preventative measure that I'm protecting people from being scammed. So I think that's worth paying for. And if you don't think it's worth paying for, well, you can go out in the wilderness, in the jungle without it. That's fine. And then the final story here was a subscriber actually tweeted out to me saying, in response to me talking about EOS the other day, and I was like, all these millions of transactions a day that's flowing over the EOS network. And I talked about the gas station and how that lists all the smart contracts on Ethereum. And it shows like these are the smart contracts on Ethereum that are consuming the most gas and you're using the most transactional volume. And I said, well, it would be nice to know how much of the activity on the EOS network is due to which smart contract, right? So this Twitter user, if you go to my Twitter, you'll see me and them having a conversation. Vasily Bondarenko, I think their name is. So you check them out. Anyway, I'll put a link to the Twitter profile and the conversations in the show notes. But they tweeted back to me as a result of the EOS News episode the other day, and they said, useful idea about tracking network usage by apps and accounts. I will make it. If you have some more thoughts on network stats, let me know. I'm developing a full project on it. Then it didn't take them long to tweet at me again saying, it takes quite some time to calculate this data, but the first data shows that block Twitter is way ahead in terms of usage than the system contracts and so on. And the data is listed in milliseconds. So they then posted this screenshot of some data that they trawled, right? And what they've done is they've created an inventory of, it's basically calculating CPU usage on the EOS network. And then it lists the various smart contracts down one column and the number of CPU milliseconds that have been consumed in the second column. And assuming this is ranked in order of usage, block Twitter is number one. So it's there's no commas in the number, it's just one long string of numbers. So it's like 28 million odd milliseconds of usage for block Twitter, which is what I suspected the other day. I was saying that if someone's just spamming the same tweet over and over and over again on block Twitter, that might account for a lot of transactions on EOS. The next one is the EOS token contract. So people creating, EOS tokens on the EOS network. Then EOS IO, which is the system contract itself, which is for things like voting and all of the, the default actions within the EOS system, creating accounts, token transfers, all that sort of stuff. The EOS button, which I actually don't know what that does. What else we got here? Monster EOS, which is, Monster EOS, that game. Wizard Box airdrop. So the Wizard Box is a EOS Wizards game, which is a blockchain-based game that I've talked about before. EOS Authority, which means that's probably the Space Invaders smart contract. ETH sidechain, first I've heard of it, but that sounds really interesting. And then E Particle, which I think is another EOS airdrop and a DApp. So that's really interesting. So this is just the first numbers. It gives us some answer to the question of where's most of the usage going. The answer in the top three is Block Twitter, the EOS token contract, and then the EOS IO system contract. So that so far is a good insight. And if this Twitter user continues to develop this, we'll get even deeper and deeper insights into what's going on. Now they also said that, are there any other stats that we want to see? I can't think of any right now, but it would be useful if you find this conversation on Twitter and then reply to this person saying, yes, I would like to know this stat, that stat, the other stat. They can consider including that in their little developer tool. So yeah, don't leave it to me to come up with all the ideas. I can't think of any other stats I want to know right now, but if I do, I'll let them know. But you may as well chime into the conversation as well. That's what Twitter's for, right? It's just one big public conversation. So jump in and let's all collaborate together. But that's all I've got for you today. So if you're watching this on YouTube and you thought it was absolutely terrible, you can hit that button. But if you liked it, hit the like button, get subscribed, and even grab yourself a discount coupon if you're new to all this cryptocurrency stuff by going down to the video description or by going to cryptoversity.com and clicking on the courses section. You can get either of my introductory cryptocurrency courses for just $19.99. Also, if you go to twitter.com/chrisjsconey, you'll find my Twitter profile, and that's where you should absolutely totally follow me. And if you go to cryptoversity.com/notifications, you'll be able to get an email each time I release a new episode. Many people have been telling me that they're not getting notified of new videos, so I'm taking responsibility to let you know directly by email. And if you've got a bit more time, then why not check out yesterday's episode, which was on the topic of Coinbase news, the Mines token, MetaMask being considered malware, and an EOS experiment called EOS 888. Other than that, I'll be back with the next episode of the Cryptoverse. So until then, it's me, Chris Coney, saying bye for now.